I'm Jenny Kurtz, and Heather Kelly, my co-founder, can't be with us today, but she sends the very best. And our mission to inspire, educate, and amplify today's innovators and tomorrow's change makers. We do that because we recognise that our world is changing fast and probably changing faster than it's ever changed before. This pace of change keeps accelerating, and we need to prepare young people leaving school and entering the workforce with the skills that matter. So we call them entrepreneurial skills, you might call them employability skills, enterprise skills, basically life skills that will stand people in good stead for whatever career path they choose to embark upon. So we do this through encouraging people to work together in teams, to collaborate with others, to develop critical thinking skills, creativity, and those entrepreneurial traits like resilience and persistence, the ability to keep going when things are hard and to learn that failure is a learning experience. And that's really what we're all about. Yeah, myself and Heather started this way back in 2012 actually at St Joseph's College as a one school setting, and we've grown over the years. And really I think one of the specialities we have is connecting industry, education, young people and the community in which we live, because we find that, you know, it's a corny saying, but it does take a global village to raise a young entrepreneur and change maker. So we're all about bringing these groups of people together because we believe that when they do, really good things can happen. Some stats and facts, we actually, when we counted up, we've worked with a lot of young people, a lot of educators. We have a really wide, expansive network. And it's so great to see some old faces and some new faces join us today. A really warm welcome from me. But why are we here today? Well, taking on board, I guess, the feedback that we've had from people who've been through our programs, people that we've worked with, and our industry connections. And also, I think, the year that we've just had, where that changed a lot of things for a lot of people. It made us realize, you know, if we're committed to the mission that we're on, the path that we're on, we want to reach more and more people. So the challenge is on us to kind of put our entrepreneurial hats on for ourselves and say, well, how can we grow this? How can we scale this, what we do, and reach many more people? But at the same time, keep where we started here in Geelong close to us. So what we have come up with is a program that I'm going to share with you called the Upstart Express. And you know, when we're having a future vision, as we encourage young people to do, we'll think big. You know, one day we're here in Geelong, the next we're extending over Victoria, we're reaching out throughout the nation, and who knows where this ends up, but there's no reason why we can't have a global community of connected young people working with industry mentors and educators to really tackle some of these big problems that we're seeing out there. So that's really what we're all about with the Upstart Express. None of what we do is done in isolation. So a lot of what you see here today and what you'll see in this program is the result of a lot of input from a lot of people. And I mean, the sponsors provide the means for us to do this, which is absolutely fantastic. We couldn't do without them. But it's more than that. I think what the people who work with us add is the motivation, the insights, those industry connections that make what we do really, really relevant. The educators that we work with, that we get feedback from, and you, the students who go through our programs, and you know, at the end of the day, if it's not working for you, then we need to know about it, and we've learned a lot along the way based on your feedback. So a really big shout out to everybody who's come on board here in a variety of different ways to provide input to this program. So the Upstart Express, it's basically a fun, a fast-paced entrepreneurial journey. We've designed it to really ignite students' passion for solving problems, for seeing the world differently, putting some different thinking to the things that we kind of think someone else can solve them. But how can we make a difference? How can we make an impact? And how can we use the technology that is emerging, that we're seeing as an enabler to that? How can we use the science that we're learning about? And how can we use those innovation skills to bring something that's really new, fresh, and it's going to move us forward? We're asking students to come up with solutions under 5 great big themes. So there's plenty of choice depending on what you're passionate about and what you're interested in. So whether that health and well-being, physical health, mental health, They're big issues these days. What about community and society? You know, where do you see injustices in society that you think, you know, why haven't we been able to fix this by now? What about food futures? You know, I think this is a really big topic that we're only just seeing the beginnings of. So where are we going to feed the world going forward? What can we do within our communities to get you know, healthy food when we need it? The environment and sustainability, another big theme, and lots of opportunity in there for students to find a passion and really work it through. And sport and leisure, you know, we're all having more leisure time on our hands. You know, people are living longer time in retirement. How are we going to keep pace with our need to change and for newness? What solutions do you see in that space? I'm going to stop talking now and show a little video here that behind the scenes there's some magic going on. So,
get the most out of Science Week 2021 with Upstart Express. Upstart helps young people solve tomorrow's biggest challenges through science, innovation, and technology by connecting them with educators, businesses, and community groups. So how does an Upstart Science Week look? Day 1, Express launch. Live launchpad session connecting classrooms across the nation, exploring ways problems affect people and imagining solutions. Tuesday to Thursday, students journey on with access to online resources, real industry expertise, and even professional mentoring, nurturing visions to grow and communicate to the world. Friday, Express Success. Present your pitch to your peers. It's fun and fast-paced, from idea to impact. So, what are you waiting for? Sign up today and be part of the National Upstart Express.
There is another video that features myself and Heather in it. I felt like, being the sort of movie star that I'm not, I would rather tell you about it in person, but if you'd like to see me, and I know a lot of you are probably missing Heather too, I recommend you go online, give the video a watch. It's really groovy actually, but I just couldn't show it to you while I'm standing here in front of you, so watch it away and yeah, let's get the YouTube clicks up. Is that the right phrase? So basically the learning journey, you know, we provide the scaffolding for this learning, which is, you know, people coming together to work in teams, to identify a passion, something that they care about, and then to work through that problem before they ideate and generate some creative solutions, and then pitch that back, so share. So there's only so much you can do by coming up with great ideas, but at some point you really need to be able to share them to get the impact felt and to get people on board. We've got a wealth of resources for teachers to use, including these fantastic subject matter expert videos. So under every theme, we're showcasing people who are working in those themes, who are making an impact in their field, who are sharing with students what they're doing, where they see the problems, where they see the opportunities, and some of the innovations that they're working on in that space, just really to fire the imagination and to you know, ignite some action. Part of this is also we wanted to showcase real people with real careers. You can only be what you can see, and I'm not sure that, you know, there's a whole heap of interesting people out there doing really wonderful things that you can't even imagine if you don't know that. So we like to showcase those careers into schools as well, just some short video bites. And these are people that you walk past in the street. You know, these are not the superstars on the TED Talk stages. These are people in their humble ways doing their bit to solve these problems. And we'll have instructional videos and a whole heap of resources for teachers, presentations and teacher guides and student activity worksheets, etc. So that's kind of the program in a nutshell. But we really did want today, because we have such a good mix of people in the room, to have a discussion with some very fantastic panel guests around, you know, those future skills. What are the skills employers are looking for? Where do STEM skills fit in this? What about STEAM skills? What do we mean by entrepreneurship and innovation? And how do we make that happen? What do we need to get going? And how can schools and young people you know, do more of this stuff? So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our longtime Upstart mentor, Davina Montgomery. Davina is, I think, a journalist by trade, and I was going to say football guru now, because I heard that.
I can film it, I can't play it, and my boys tell me that I'm useless at analysing it, but, you know, I'm beating them in tips, so.
Well, I can't thank Davina enough too for coming on board to MC this panel, so I'll hand over to her to bring the guests up to the platform. Thank you.
So we're going to keep this moving fairly quickly because none of us likes to sit here and hear people rambling on a lot. With that in mind, I'm not going to ramble on a lot. I'm just going to give you 3 fantastic panel guests that can give us some real insights into what it takes to not only come up with an idea, but figure out a way to bring that through the system. So for you guys in education, but right out there or through any industry in the world, make it happen, make a change in the world and kind of build your own future, because that's the challenge before us, is that for all of you students in the room, you guys will literally build the future that you are going to live in. So it's in your hands to do that. It sounds terrifying. We like to lean a lot on each other when we do these kind of things because none of us can do it alone. So that's why we have people like the fabulous Wayne Elliott, who's the CEO of the Geelong Region LEN, Geelong Region Local Learning and Employment Network. Oh, yes. Wayne, everyone say hi to Wayne. Terrific. Then we have Linda Hobbs, who's the Associate Professor of Education in Science Education at Deakin University. Please say hello to Linda. And lastly, we have long-time Upstart mentor and all-round entrepreneurship guru, Dr. Richard Hellner, who's the CEO of Super Interactive and, as we said, a very long-time Upstart mentor. Say hi to Richard. Terrific. Well, guys, feel free to take a seat or stand, however you like. No one's judging here. I think we might start with, Wayne, if we can start with you. Something that Jen said that really struck a chord with me is that for the kids in the room, for the educators in the room to understand how to build a pathway into the future, we kind of need to have a look at where we are now. What are you hearing from the employment network, from employers that you speak to, about the kind of skills that they're looking for in young people?
We've been having a few round tables leading up to a round table coming up on Friday this week, which is getting all parties together and discussing what are the pathways to school industry. But we've had the opportunity to sit on a digital employers talking about digital skills that they're requiring for their people, and I'm talking really about these creative skills and the ability to be able to really read what the reality is at the moment and adapt and change really quickly, work as a team, problem solve. All those sort of skills are really important. And I think getting back to what Jen was saying before, I mean, that passion aspect is really important. So if you're excited for a young person, if you're excited about something, go and do it and keep exploring it, because they're the sort of things that will keep you going in life, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Wayne. And for you guys in here, the students in the room, so things like you might hear, parents or grandparents or other people in your life sort of whinge about things like video games or stuff that you're doing online and things like that. But every time you're engaging with the world, you're learning, and the things that you're excited about are literally the things that you're going to take into the future. So it's about connecting those two things, I think, Wayne. Linda, if I can go to you. When we talk about these words, entrepreneurship, STEM, STEAM, we're hearing them a lot. In reality, how are you seeing them being integrated into schools?
Yeah, thanks, Sabina. Yeah, well, we've been working with schools for some time now, so primary and secondary school, helping teachers to build STEM programs, and more recently focusing on entrepreneurship as well in primary and secondary schools. And probably the most exciting thing that we've been seeing is where we've had students involved in those programs as well. And the most recent one is the Girls as Leaders in STEM program, where we've actually partnered with Upstart to deliver entrepreneurship training for girls in Year 5 to Year 8, as well as provide some training for teachers on how to integrate STEM, understand its interdisciplinary nature, but also recognising that schools actually approach STEM in very different ways. And it's really the beauty of STEM is that it's malleable. It's a construct that can work in schools to help to engage the students in a way that they still need it to do work. So that's probably the exciting thing about STEM, and certainly Upstart contributed to our program into fantastic training.
Fantastic. For those of you in the room that aren't familiar with Linda, Linda's an expert on STEM education, so hence we're speaking to her specifically about STEM. The Upstart Challenge and Linda have worked together on this, on the Deakin Girls as Leaders in STEM. And has had a big role, I think, in STEM and entrepreneurship programs for teachers and students, has done a lot of work in the space, written a lot of papers. So when she talks, it's well worth listening to, as are they all. Richard, as we've got sitting on the end, so those of you who've been around the program will of course be very familiar with Richard. You'll see him on all sorts of videos from across the years in Upstart. He's a scientist, a musician and an innovator. He works in materials and sports technologies. He does amazing things with the Australian swim team that's training up in Cairns at the moment. Is that right, Richard? And he's also working with the Upstart Challenge, the Upstart Express program, concept and design. Richard, you are an innovator. That's what you do. It's the way that you live. You're clearly creative as well as a scientist and a musician. Can you tell me about, from your experience, how those elements interact in your view of the world and how you approach challenges and business opportunities, and then how we encourage that innovation in young people exactly like all of the people in the room today?
I think a really big part of it is storytelling. So when you come from STEM and you sort of engineer, and it's the journey that I've been on, learning to do storytelling is really important. So hats off to Jen today for getting out and engaging with Science Week and turning it into almost Innovation Week myself. So, because science on its own is not enough, it's connecting that with the relevance to deliver that impact is where it needs to go. So enabling kids to see that STEM is more than something you study, it's something that you do. It's for the front. That's why I keep betting up year.
And what do you think it takes to encourage that and to create the environments where that can be developed in schools?
So the Upstart program really challenges students. We've got Jay here and my son here. I'm very happy to think about things that they're passionate about and people they care about. So in 2019, Jay was a winner and he had his granddad here, and their project was all about helping old people interact with phones better, because I'm now 50, I've got glasses, I can't see it. And then in 30 years, when I've got arthritis, I probably won't be able to right thing. There's a real problem, there's someone they care about, so they connect with that to come up with an idea and a solution. And his partner Josh had a crack at coding it up. So it was a big initiative where they were passionate about it, and that drove their creativity. And I think that gets people excited. So I know when I talk to some of the other students, the friends, they've got little ideas in their passion zones, and that allows them to tackle that problem instead of having to think about how to do it and how to then do the people side of the innovation.
Yeah, absolutely. And that particular idea was really future planning for you guys. You probably haven't got to this point yet, but for some of us, we get lots of older people in our lives calling us very hard, asking us how to get on the Facebook and do lots of things that we don't really want to have to tell them to do. So innovations like that not only can help make the world a better place, can make it a more inclusive place, but can give you guys more time away from older people asking you embarrassing questions about TikTok. So think about that as you're moving forward as well. Back to Wayne. Now, Wayne, for people who aren't particularly yet knowing much about the LEN is, oh, geez, Wayne, I'm actually going to let you tell us all about LEN. But this idea of being able to connect business and industry and learning in one space is exactly what the LEN is all about. Wayne, over to you. Tell us about the LEN.
Thank you. I think our main focus is just empowering people, but bringing them together and connecting. I think the LEN, over the 20 years that I've just come into the role, has been a conduit in the town, whereby we're trying to connect different people from different organisations and individuals, different interests, etc., to get a common goal. And essentially that's how we see it, because if we work together, it's the opportunity then that we can get better outcomes for everyone. And I think, as Richard alluded to, I think the narrative or storytelling is a really important part of each of our stories. Each organisation has its own stories, and I think in Geelong, I think we're pretty good at sharing the stories of each organisation and people also. So I think for young people, I sort of come from a bit of an arts background, is that storytelling, as Richard alluded to, is very, very important. So I think the LEN is part of that storytelling.
Wayne isn't just a bit of an artist, he's actually an acclaimed artist. So connecting those world of business and the creative world. So Wayne, from your perspective, And knowing that you do come from both of those worlds, why is it important for schools and industry and community to connect?
I think it's a conversational aspect of having a conversation with someone. We're at a point in time where we think we know the answer. The reality is we probably never know, but if we have a conversation with someone, we go, well, I know what the next step is. And that's how I tend to live. And if we're doing a painting, you start with a blank canvas for the painting. What's the next step? Well, you maybe have to walk out to the landscape to experience the landscape. You then come up with a concept or a map of what that drawing or sketch may be. That sketch you then take into a final painting. So it's a similar methodology to how I think we need to navigate the world. Is we need to understand each step as we move forward. We don't really think we might know, but we just have to the doing bit of it, then reflect on it, then move forward. So I think there's a real link between all of that, sort of in the way we think about navigating the world.
And for you in the Len, when you're connecting, so trying to find employment opportunities and connecting that with businesses that are looking for specific skills or maybe a field of skills, because we know now that a lot of roles when you're walking into the business world, and particularly for you guys coming in as first-time employees or looking to get a start in a career that you might want, or one of the careers that you might want, something that you're finding now is that what employers are looking for is not just one thing, and where employers are looking for people that can challenge them a little bit, that you guys can bring your skills to them, but also that you can fit and mould into that environment. So those sort of entrepreneurship skills seem to be there. Wayne, what can we hope to achieve by connecting education, having a chat to, building these skills in kids now, giving them the opportunity to really show us their skills while they're still in school, rather than just waiting until they've gone through your education pathway, coming out the other end and then joining that jobs queue?
Well, it gets back again and wants to understand the situation, what's it like to work in a place, so whether it's work experience of doing volunteering or being involved in an organisation, playing sport, all those sort of things allow people to understand how do I relate to people, how do I talk to people, how do I understand what they're saying, do I listen to people and have a conversation back. All those skills, I think we don't realise the real value of everything that a young person does. Has a value to them, whatever it is. I think they've got to really say to themselves, if I can go and play sport, I've got some really great values, and that's a positive thing for me going forward in life. And I think that's what employers are looking for, is that you really need to understand your own brand in some ways. And of course, the other way is connections. Part of our role is how can we create connections? Because not everyone's got connections to business or opportunities in industry. So part of our role is connect schools to industry, so that there may be an opportunity for a young person who wants to pursue a career in whatever they want to do, so they can go and get a taste of what that's like. I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many opportunities in the world, and any person who's been on a business journey of any kind, or even a development story, someone who's gone out and worked in the community sector, will all tell you that it starts with conversations. It starts with speaking to people and building a bit of a connection, having a bit of a shared passion, and so many things can come out of that. Linda, if I can come to you and talk about, as we do when we're talking about entrepreneurship, as we're talking about change makers, we need to be realistic about what the barriers are. What are the barriers to, or what are the barriers that you see that schools need to overcome to really make this entrepreneurship mindset, to make programs like Upstart Express an easy pathway and something that's quite native to that environment?
I think one of the challenges that schools face is they're often reinventing the wheel all the time. And so you have a teacher come in and they have an idea of that creative. They make contents, they do programs, and in some schools that's great. It's a tone in the school, and schools can do great things, and I've seen that happen. I've seen schools that have sort of a problem solving and offensive problems, real world problem solving is really quite central to the whole school. Other schools, it might be individual teachers who are championing a certain area, and when that teacher goes, the program goes with it. So one of the things that I find really exciting about the Geelong region, if I can talk about the Geelong region, I know this is a national and international program, but I'm really excited about what's happening in Geelong, where there are so many touch points that are happening with STEM in school. And so when a teacher does leave a school and a program
Whereas when you're talking about sustainability of these sort of programs in schools, you really need to look at what's happening across the group. Because one teacher goes to another school and they take those ideas with them. And so I think in the Geelong area, you've got Upstart programs which have been contributing in schools. You've got the tech school, which is also doing awesome things in secondary schools in the area and also more broadly in the community. There's a number of professional development programs that we're bringing on, but also other things that our schools. So Geelong schools are ready for this. We're ready to engage with STEM, to design things, and I do see it playing out in schools in really interesting, exciting ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure the teachers in the room would appreciate every bit of help that can from a nice, easy platform, something that can actually be there to be delivered rather than spending hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of class prep to get there, and something that really gets your students engaged, something that actually lets you communicate with them as individuals rather than under I guess that old school of education that a lot of us that are, you know, that next generation up, that are a couple of generations up, that have gone through the where education was really just delivered down. We really want to see this next generation have education from the ground up. So about you guys, about what you are excited about and want to bring to the world, and then giving you the options to do that. But most importantly as well, supporting our teachers to do that, because none of it happens without you and your passion and your ability and your time. Richard, if I can come back to you, you've crossed a lot of different spaces across your work and across your mentor career as well. How do you see this particular program, this Upstart Express program, adding value in the classroom?
So it probably brings students to STEM, or connects STEM students, non-STEM students, getting them to work together on problems, and they'll be able to appreciate what each other brings. It's an innovation scenario. It's about people and being able to share that story and you know, delegate and distribute the workload to certain expertise to pull it all together and basically bring something to life. So innovation's not easy, right? So then you take on a big challenge and you have a crack. So in Upstart, they've managed to get, first years we did it, they've got 5 years, and then slowly but surely we started to see actual tangible realities come out. So the process does work. It does sort of light a fire in kids. They do get together as a team and work together, and they do start to produce apps and widgets that share pockets and all sorts of things that you might not imagine. As a mentor, this is a great opportunity to explore this culture, and that's really important because we have quite a strong culture. So sharing that with the rest of Australia, with people who don't experience the things that we have in Geelong, to be able to share that and get kids engaged with that, it's pretty exciting. So hopefully kids will be excited about this. And they may not actually know what they're experiencing at the time, but then after they reflect about it, they might sort of go, wow, that's what I'm hoping, and I think they get that.
Can I ask you too, Richard? I'm going off book, but as a long-time mentor in the Upstart Challenge, how have you found what you've learnt in this program has helped you? And I'm picking up on that point that you said about not realising at the time what you're actually getting, and then coming back to a moment later and realising, hey, I've actually done some thinking about that without even realising.
So I finished my engineering degree and I did a bit more study and I got to do some tutoring. That was when I learned my stuff. So being a mentor for Upstarts and essentially going through the process again and again has helped me to really knuckle down on learning about, it is about, being able to understand who the people are, who cares, and then, being a little bit technology agnostic. So I'm not, as a scientist, I was often, glued to the technology, whereas when you get into the problem space and the people who benefit from what you're doing, it becomes more about that side of the fence, and then you're reaching back to the technology that fits. So in Upstart, that's very much what it's about. When students present to the mentor. It's great being a mentor, it's easy. You basically get to just ask really simple questions. Tell me your idea in 20 seconds. It sounds simple, but when the person's on the back, what's having to defend themselves. And then you get to say, well, have you thought about it? I don't know, it's really better, just throw a little coin out there. So there's been a lot of speed dating in the mentoring, so you don't just get a kid from me, you might get from Matt or Patrick or Liz. There's a team of mentors that's sort of a revolving door, but that opportunity for students to talk to different mentors and see different perspectives allows them to have that conversation that was mentioned with a lot of different people, because you won't get it right the first time. My experience of innovation is, if you get it half right the first time, you've done well, and it won't be the end game. So you have to come back and work with it, and eventually you probably but hopefully you've established up front that it's worked.
And you'll have some dead set flops in the process, and that's a big part of what this program teaches all of us, not the students that are going through it, not just the teachers who are teaching it, but those people who've been part of the program as well, because believe you me, our 20-second and 30-second pitches have been complete rubbish at times, but we are learning and we're getting better at it all the time. With that said, last question, and I'm going to give you 30 seconds, Linda, because this is Upstart and we move fast. Tell me how entrepreneurial thinking will help schools prepare young people for the challenges of the future, and most importantly, will help them learn to be okay and learn from their failures.
30 seconds. Okay.
Time starts now.
Okay. I've certainly seen young people go from industry-based problems that seem so far away from them and their lives and make it something that's important to them. I've seen them think through the challenges associated with coming up with solutions, coming up with scientific data to back up what they're coming, and then feeling confident enough to talk to other people about what they're doing, to the public, to their parents, and be really proud of what they've done.
It's a really good answer. Well, for those of you in the room, we've got 3 experts sitting up here. Does anyone have any questions, anything you want to throw at them? You can give them a 30-second time frame, it's fun. No one? Nothing you want to know? Has anyone had a really good idea that's ended up being rubbish that's failed? What was your big idea that fell? Oh, question away.
Maybe for Linda, so is there a danger with a program like this that we get students really excited and they do a program, they finish it, and then what's next? How do they take that next step after a program like this?
This is a challenge for schools actually, because as students are engaging with these ideas, they're engaging with technology maybe in a way that they've not engaged before. Schools have really got to jump on board and make these opportunities available for students going into BC level. Bringing in the programs and supporting those programs, but of course with human subjects that actually enable them to invent that. As far as where they go with it from there, I'm not sure schools are always where that happens. I think some of that happens outside of too. And parents and families can make that available. Other organisations within the region can make those things available too. And this is where we have to work together as a network, as a community, as a STEM landscape, to actually make these things not just for now, but for the future of time.
Can I have a quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
What next is a great one because it's a key point of reflection. So I've done this thing. Oh God, I'm 15. Do I want to keep going? But it triggers that reflection of the experience that they've had. So it actually doesn't matter whether they keep going or not. They do find that if you get serious with your innovation, you're really deep in it, they may not be ready for that, but that's actually okay.
So there's been some great musicians who started at 15 playing guitar, and all of a sudden that was the ignition for them to keep going and do something the rest of their life. So I think it's that spark that gets them passionate about something. Finding passion, I reckon, is one of the big things that can start really small, start with one of these opportunities if it's in STEM. STEAM is I had the arts doing it on STEAM, that's where it starts, and just take it from there. It's your goal.
Terrific. Well, thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to hand back to Jen and keep the ideas coming. Be okay with failing, because every time you fail, you're learning something new. And again, you probably won't know it at the time. You'll just, you'll feel like rubbish and you'll be embarrassed, and then you'll learn to pick yourself up. And once you've done that once, it becomes easy, because let's face it, we're rubbish at stuff all of the time, but we're still here, and it's how we grow.
Brilliant, thanks so much. Please join me in thanking Davina and the wonderful panel. Thank you. Some great discussion there, and I was just reflecting too on students. We say to students, not just you and one idea, it's not just this idea, it's the ability to have many ideas, many more ideas, and you learn every time. So panelists, you've done a fantastic job. I really appreciate your time. Last couple of slides from me, and any questions if anybody would like. But I think this is maybe even the last slide for me, just to say that registrations are open, jump online, get involved with it. I don't think there's anything not to like, so that's me though. Happy to take questions, and thank you very much for coming along to join us this afternoon. It's been so good to see you all again, and new faces.